and you're listening to my favorite talk show, The Weekly Show with Aditya.
What is that one word that can be used to describe 95% of the Indian movies? The term Indian movie here includes movies made in each and every region of India, whether we use the terminology Collywood, Tollywood, Bollywood, regional art, entertainment. It includes everything. And what is the term used to describe these movies, especially the comedy genre? And remember, movies mean both the movies and the TV shows. There is no need to put them in separate boxes. So, what is that one term that can be used to describe the movies, the TV shows made all over the country, irrespective of the region they were made in, irrespective of the terminology they have been given? There's only one word to describe them: goofy. But we can add another word, especially for the comedy genre, that is non stop nonsense. Why is this term being used? Well, that's for my listeners to decipher. Over the last few weeks, I have been watching a few Indian movies, whether they were made in the year 2000 or 2020, and I was watching the comedy genre, and more I watched it, I felt they were non-stop nonsense. That is why we have often heard the term masala for these movies. What is masala? It's an amalgamation of a bit of song, a bit of comedy, a bit of tragicomedy, action, romance, everything stuffed into those 2 hours. And the most important aspect of this movie is not to have a beginning, middle, and an end. It's just going haywire, like when a cricket match gets exciting and we don't know how the movie is going to end. Look at some of the Indian movies, they start with a song, especially the comedy action genre. But the songs have nothing to do with the plot of the movie. The songs are what the terminology is used as cold opening. The song is where all the protagonists, the antagonists in the movie come together, they dance, they give you the impression of enjoying, and then the movie starts. So the first 5 minutes of an opening of a movie is either spent in credits, thanking the various organizations who helped them make the movie. After that, 1.5 minute credit thank you is done. Then 2.5 minutes of song is introduced. If you are watching a majority of these movies, just fast forward the first 5 minutes, because the first 5 minutes have nothing to do with the actual plot. And why are there songs in the movie? Because the writer feels they have no idea how to take the plot forward. So, to placate the other individuals involved in the movie, that is, the lyricists, the choreographers, the songwriters, they add the song. So, the song acts as a buffer which allows the watcher to take a break from whatever goofiness has been happening so far. The songs have nothing to do with the plot. The songs are just what one calls a filler. No plot, no beginning, middle, and an end, just a khichdi, that is a famous Indian pudding where you put everything together and it doesn't have to make sense. And why do we enjoy watching these movies? Because of the fact that there is no plot. One doesn't need to use their cognition while watching such movies. But then the question is, what exactly is comedy? Well, comedy hasn't been defined till date. Comedy is not being a clown. Comedy is not falling off stairs or falling like a clown or behaving foolishly so that it invokes laughter in the audience. Comedy means when you subtly say something which arouses humor. Comedy is not what is actually falling in a manner which is amusing. That is not comedy. Then the question comes, would I rather watch 2.5 hours of a WWE program or 2.5 hours of goofiness in the Indian movie? Whether it's WWE, AEW, or any such professional organization, any such professional wrestling organization, why would I ever miss watching those 2.5 hours to 3 hours of entertainment? Also, because there is entertainment, there's a bit of rivalry between the wrestlers or in the characters they play during the 2.5 hours. Of course, if I have to watch between watching movies like Dangal or Sultan versus watching the action on WWE or AEW, which one do you think I will choose? I will, of course, choose WWE because even though it's scripted, even though the movie was scripted and WWE is scripted, it's the way they present. It's all about presentation. Yes, WWE isn't perfect. They have their own fatal flaws, but they're able to invent and reinvent themselves when it comes to getting new ideas as far as this particular genre is concerned. Why do you think they have the term E in the suffix? Why does the term entertainment hold so much importance in the initials of WWE? Because that's all it is about. Coming back to couple of Indian movies I have watched over the past couple of weeks. Well, why am I watching it? Because I don't want to use my cognition after a certain hour. As I said, my work hours are between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. After that, it's pure entertainment. Either I am on my computer wasting time looking at goofy pseudo sites like Facebook and Twitter, and if I'm bored of whatever goofiness is happening on those sites, I watch the movies. And then the advantage of having online VCRs, what does that mean? I can skip the boring parts. I can skip the emotional parts in the movie. I can skip the cold opening and straight away go to the movie. Yes, you watch a few scenes, you wonder what was the writer thinking about when they wrote those scenes? What were those actors doing when they signed the contract to produce those films? Well, I don't think they thought much. They knew the movies make no sense, and sometimes even making nonsense and goofy movies can be a comic relief for these same actors. They also relax. They don't have to get too worked up while making a serious movie. Comic acting is a special art. You can't just walk up to someone and slap them, they slap you back, and you fall off the terrace right on somebody, and then you're just doing clown like things, and then the cameraman decides to quicken the pace, and then it's fast action, fast paced camera work. That is not comedy, but that is the definition of comedy, what has been seen so far. What is the lesson learned from watching these goofy Indian movies? Well, the answer is there is no lesson learned. One doesn't have to learn a lesson while watching such movies. One just needs to watch it and forget it. For time immemorial, it has always been seen that the success of a movie is directly proportional to the box office sales. So, if 75% of the country watches a movie and they make an X amount, then it means that the movie is successful, though that can be misleading because out of the 75%, only 10% enjoy it, 65% just watch for the curiosity, and when they come back, they tell everyone never watch this movie again. For example, you cannot compare the subtle comedy in a TV show like Big Bang Theory or any such TV show compared to what we have seen in the three Dhamal franchisee. There is no comparison in a movie like Dhamal. One doesn't need to use their cognition. Watch it if you're watching at home through your online VCRs, online DVD players. Just skip some parts. You don't have to be bothered because there is no connection, there is no beginning, there is no middle, and there is no end. And that is what defines a goofy Indian movie, irrespective of whether it's in the south, north, east, west, regional, art, or commercial, whether it's Bollywood, Tollywood, Collywood, or any other such wood. This is reading part 1. Let's continue the reading or the recitation of the poem The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Like one that on a lonesome road doth walk in fear and dread, and having once turned round walks on, and turns no more his head, because he knows a frightful fiend doth close behind him tread. But soon there breathed a wind on me, not sound nor motion made. Its path was not upon the sea in ripple or in shade. It raised my hair, it fanned my cheek like a meadow gale of spring. It mingled strangely with my fears, yet it felt like a welcoming. Swiftly, swiftly flew the ship, yet she sailed softly too. Sweetly, sweetly blew the breeze, on me alone it blew. Oh, dream of joy, is this indeed the lighthouse top I see? Is this the hill? Is this the kirk? Is this mine own country? We drifted over the harbour bar, and I with sobs did pray, oh, let me be awake, my God, or let me sleep away. The harbour bay was clear as glass, so smoothly it was strewn, and on the bay the moonlight lay, and the shadow of the moon. The rock shone bright, the kirk no less, that stands above the rock. The moonlight steeped in silentness the steady weathercock, and the bay was white with silent light, till rising from the same, full many shapes that shadows were, in crimson colours came. A little those crimson shadows were. I turned my eyes upon the deck. O Christ, what I saw there! Each corpse lay flat, lifeless and flat, and by the holy rood, a man all right, a seraph man, on every corpse there stood. This seraph band each waved his hand. It was a heavenly sight. They stood as signals to the land, each one a lovely light. This seraph band each waved his hand. No voice did they impart, no voice, but oh, the silence sank like music on my heart. But soon I heard the dash of oaths. I heard the pilot's cheer. My head was turned perforce away, and I saw a boat appear. The pilot and the pilot's boy, I heard them coming fast. Dear Lord in heaven, it was a joy. The dead men could not blast. I saw a third, I heard his voice. It is the hermit good. He singeth loud his godly hymns that he makes in the wood. He'll shrive my soul, he'll wash away the albatross's blood. It's time for reading session part 2, reading from P.G. Woodhouse's Aunt's Omnibus. You cannot accede to Miss Bing's request, Sir, I took an astonished cup of coffee. I couldn't follow his train of thought. It seemed to me that he couldn't have been listening. But if I don't, she'll squeal to the FBI. No, sir, for the lady will be forced to admit that it is physically impossible for you to carry out her wishes. The statuette is no longer at large. It has been placed in Sir Watkins' collection room behind a stout steel door. Good Lord, how do you know? I chanced to pass the dining room, sir, and inadvertently overheard a conversation between Sir Watkin and his lordship. Call him Spood. Very good, sir. Mr. Spood was observing to Sir Watkin that he had not at all liked the interest you displayed in the figurine at dinner last night. I was just giving Pop B the old salve in hope of sweetening the atmosphere a bit. Precisely, sir, but your statement that the object was just the sort of thing Uncle Tom would like to have made a deep impression on Mr. Spood, remembering the unfortunate episode of the cow creamer which did so much to mar the pleasantness of your previous visit to Tontaletas. He informed Sir Watkin that he had revised his original view that you were here to attempt to lure Miss Bassett from Mr. Fink Nortel, and that he was now convinced that your motive in coming to the house had to do with the figurine, and that you were planning to purloin in on Mr. Travers's behalf. Sir Watkin, who appeared much moved, accepted the theory in toto, all the more readily because of an encounter which he said he had with you in the early hours of this morning. I nodded. Yes, we got together in the hall at, I suppose, about 1 a.m. I had gone down to see if I could get a bit of that steak and kidney pie. I quite understand, sir. It was an injudicious thing to do, if I may say so. But the claims of steak and kidney pie are, of course, paramount. It was immediately after this that Sir Watkin fell in with Mr. Spooder's suggestion that the statuette be placed under lock and key in the collection room. I presume that it is now there, and when it is explained to Miss Banks that only by means of burglar's tools or a flask of grenade trotoluol could you obtain access to it, and that neither of these is in your possession, sure the lady will see reason and recede from her position. This ends episode number 258 on the 9th of September 2020.
Mogambo. Joshua.
For more awesome content, tune in to the next episode of the weekly show with Aditya.